stand behind it. And the notice did say that there'd be business transacted potentially. So if you know something I don't know, that there will be no business, that's interesting, because then the notice was defective because it was incorrect. Anybody else on council?
That doesn't make the notice defective.
Okay, but you're also not willing to.
We've been through this already, Mayor.
Okay, I understand. Anybody else on council? Because what I'm going to do is I will proceed because this is really a few ways that I get information from the Democratic Council majority because they rarely share information. So I will proceed under protest, and I imagine and I encourage that if anyone feels that we're violating the Open Public Meetings Act by going forward, you have your right to say so as well in the future. So with that, I call this meeting, a special meeting to order of the Englewood Cliffs Mayor and Council. Today is June 18th, 2020. It's approximately 8:35 p.m. And I also have a roll call.
Mayor Kranjak?
Here.
Councilperson Sparrow?
You're on mute.
Sabari?
Here.
O?
Here.
Song?
Here.
Aversa?
Here.
Wu?
Here under protest that this meeting was not properly noticed to our residents.
Borough Attorney?
And here.
Municipal Clerk. Everyone's present, Mayor.
Okay, so now Councilman Farrow was muted.
No, he wasn't.
No, right.
Can you repeat what you were saying because you were muted?
I mentioned that I am under protest against this meeting. It was not duly advertised.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we always start our meetings with the flag salute. There are two people on.
Like,
Formation. Madam Clerk, would you please read the open public meeting statement? I'm sorry, I see the time wrong. It's actually 7:35.
Adequate notice of this meeting was given to the press and posted as required. Date and time of this meeting was legally given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act. This notice is on file with the municipal clerk and posted on the bulletin board. Minutes of this meeting will be made available to the public upon the completion of typing and proofreading by the municipal clerk.
Thank you. So this is a virtual meeting. Due to COVID-19, we are unable to meet as usual. Before we go into closed session, I just want to mention that right now in Englewood Cliffs, there are 56 active COVID cases, COVID-19 cases. And as I mentioned last Wednesday, unfortunately and very sadly, there have been 5 deaths in town of residents, and our condolences go out to their families. We also, in terms of being a virtual meeting, just so you know, I am at the council chambers, which is down at the police station. The borough clerk is here in the same room with me. We are socially distanced from one another and will remain that way. Councilman Farrow, I see you're here on camera. Councilman Wu, you're on camera as well. Councilwoman Sabari, I see a photo, but not a live photo, so you're not on video. Councilwoman O, you're also a photo and not a video. Councilman Aversa, you are neither a photo nor a video at the moment. And Councilman Song, I believe you're a video. Yes. So what I would do is, because we have so many of our residents on right now, there's 54 people, I would encourage the council to show your faces in a live feed and just have, you know, look at your constituents, let them see you as well. it's kind of awkward for everybody to not see a live human being, especially when they're an elected official. So I can't make you do that, but I could encourage you, and I do. People should see who's talking and what they're saying. Now, we are here to basically go into closed session, and the way closed session works is it's a confidential meeting amongst the governing body and one or more of the attorneys advising us in certain matters. Tonight, it's the matter regarding affordable housing. And we'll probably be in there for a while. So if you haven't had dinner, you can take a break and have dinner. But before I ask for a motion to do that, and by the way, the rules of Zoom meetings are that when the speaker speaks and doesn't get interrupted, and then if any other governing body person wants to speak, they too get to speak as much as they want and not get interrupted. In terms of the public, there will be an opportunity after we come out of closed session for the public to speak. And there's different ways to do that. You could raise your hand physically, we'll try to see it. Raise your hand virtually, give us a thumbs up. We'll make sure that we get to everybody before we adjourn. Regarding our affordable housing litigation, my view is that not only does Judge Farrington continue to ignore relevant facts, continue to misapply applicable law, and let her personal feelings interfere with her role as a judge, but now she's trying to force the borough to develop 100% affordable housing projects and spend that by any interpretation of applicable law, the borough is not obligated to do. I'll give you some details. On February 14th, during a phone call, the special master threatened me, stating that the judge demands that we develop a municipal 100% affordable housing project, even though in her misguided but appealable decision, she's giving a developer the right to build. She went on to say that if we don't do so, the judge will treat us even harsher. So what does that sound like? So the residents of Englewood Cliffs and the rest of New Jersey do have constitutional rights that are being trampled upon. That's my opinion. And I think that was published today in northjersey.com as well. Our attorneys, under direction of the Democratic majority on council, refuse to assert claims against a special master and others. There are also claims that our council majority and the attorneys controlled by them refuse to bring in other aspects. Why would they not take action for what seems to be attempted extortion, essentially, right? The law says we don't have to do something, but she's trying to make us do something that by law we don't have to do it. So what does that sound like to you? Okay. So my question to you is this what New Jersey has become? Now, all this is happening while the borough has the right to appeal the decisions delivered by Judge Farrington. But if you read the paper today, as I was quoted, she even refuses to permit us to appeal until some later date, but continues to force implementation of the very decisions that we will appeal. So there's a definite gap in logic there. And our attorneys agree. And they keep telling us they agree, but they don't do anything about it. And this Democratic council majority refuses to empower them to do things that will help us. Now, you should all remember, because I've repeated it very often, and I'll do it one more time. I've always said that, one, I don't like this law as it only benefits developers, lawyers, and politicians. Two, it does not benefit our fellow citizens, those that it is supposed to benefit. But three, it is the law, and we will comply on our own terms. This judge will not let us comply on our own terms.
You can attend. You want to come over here, you can attend. Hey, look, 75 people.
You need to?
Yeah.
I have also just learned through Judge Farrington's June 3rd order in an unrelated case of secretive settlement negotiations being conducted by our Democratic council majority. Yes, council members Sabari, Song, Aversa, no. So I do thank Judge Farrington for one thing, which is to tell me what's going on with our governing body, because they didn't tell us. So thank you, Judge Farrington. Much appreciate that. So the Democrats on council do what they are told, and someone is clearly telling them that their own political futures as Democratic Party candidates and operatives are more important than the rights of our citizens. Why should the mayor have to find out through some buried court order what's going on behind his back? Why should Councilman Wu have to do the same? Why should Councilman Farrow have to find out indirectly? Shame on them. Again, as they tried to do the same thing last year. We are once again seeing the rights of our residents trampled, the rule of law ignored, and our tax dollars wasted. This is hardly a good representation of American jurisprudence and exemplifies the lawlessness that we are now witnessing throughout our great country. It's no wonder New Jersey teeters on bankruptcy with such anti-taxpayer schemes in place. The legislature refuses to act. The courts have become municipal planners. The Governor's Family Foundation is a large contributor to the Fair Share Housing Council. The former executive director of the Fair Share Housing Council is now the New Jersey State Comptroller. These are all conflicts that cannot and should not go unnoticed. Now, in terms of our situation here, let me recap our timeline. In the summer of 2018, we had a settlement handshake with Fair Share Housing to build our own project. And the special master appointed by the court who advises the judge, agreed. In December 2018, we had a 100% affordable housing plan presented, and the judge permitted us to use affordable housing trust money to start implementing it. In January 2019, council control shifted to where it stands now, although there was one more in 2019 on the Democratic side. In spring of 2019, secret negotiations, a memorandum of understanding with draft settlement agreement was presented in May or April or May, I forget exactly when. And it was basically an interesting way of wanting to do something by the Democratic controlled majority here. They wanted to have two meetings, one to approve the settlement and then the next meeting to explain it to the public. So I fought for a meeting where the plan would be presented, and it was on July 10th, 2019. We had about 300 people gather at the upper school to voice their opinions. And I was very proud of our community because they actually fought, pushed back on the council majority, and changed the course of that settlement into an agreement by our council majority to litigate and to fight. In autumn 2019, there was a trial. We lost, as you know, but what you should also know is that we didn't really fight. We presented two witnesses at that trial, two experts. They didn't even ask me or anyone else on council or the planning board president, who's done a great job, what we did to try to comply with the law on our own terms. So late 2019 and 2020, early 2020, Judge Farrington continues to ignore facts and misapply law. In 2020, Governor Murphy appoints and rewards Kevin Walsh, the former head of Fair Share Housing, as I mentioned, to be a state comptroller, essentially merging Fair Share Housing with the state government, and at best creating terrible optics and a conflict of interest, which I'm telling you about right now. January and February 2020, what happened also was a Democratic council majority agreed to terminate Al Wunsch as the attorney, who basically had no affordable housing experience, and who negotiated the 2019 Memorandum of Understanding and Settlement Agreement, and basically said, okay, Mayor, you, Councilman Wu, and Councilman Farrow, go figure out a plan to have your 100% affordable housing program sponsored by the borough. And we did, and we were gaining traction. And just as we were gaining traction, the Democratic council majority rehired Al Wunsch, essentially to derail our work. Why would they do that? Since February, we had no reports of what Wunsch was working on. On June 10th, which was last week, at our regular meeting, I asked council and our attorneys if secret negotiations were being conducted. I kind of had a feeling that something was going on. The answer was no. On June 12th, a resident alerted me to the June 3rd order that I mentioned earlier, where Judge Farrington states that there were, in fact, ongoing settlement discussions with 800 Sylvan, the developer. On June 13th, I asked one of our attorneys who would know if the judge was wrong or if they lied at the meeting on June 10th. I got no answer. On June 14th, I asked the Democratic Council majority the same question. Is the judge wrong or did you lie on the June 10th meeting? I got no answer. The next day on June 15th, which is this past Monday, Al Wunsch sent a settlement term sheet to me and to the rest of the council, dated June 11th, which was the day after our June 10th meeting, where they all said that there was nothing going on. But that's the timeline. Now, the settlement terms are confidential. I can't get into those, but there is a
What was your
timeline in there. That is why the Democratic Council majority has tried to convene a meeting tonight. Again, I'm not sure this is duly called in terms of a valid meeting, but we're proceeding under protest. What I need the members of our community to do is to please join me again in convincing this misguided group of council members that the borough should continue exercising its right to appeal. And in terms of appeal, much of the work has already been done. And you paid for it. You paid for it last Wednesday, actually. We got huge bills. Al Wunsch has been paid over $195,000 this year to throw us under the bus again. So if the council goes ahead with a settlement, I just want everyone to understand what a settlement will do and why it is not in the best interest of Englewood Cliffs. One, a settlement would cut off and extinguish the borough's right to appeal. Two, a settlement would cleanse all the ignored facts, all the misapplied laws, and all the personal prejudices resulting from this judge. Three, a settlement would cleanse all the suspect actions of the special master. Four, a settlement would cleanse 800 Sylvan's suspect actions and also its perjury from its initial planning board application, where they applied to basically rehabilitate a commercial building. Five, a settlement would cleanse the actions of the 2019 and 2020 Democratic Council majority with their multiple violations of Open Public Meetings Act, Open Public Records Act, and NJSA 40A60-5, which are the powers of the mayor, since they haven't kept me informed. A settlement would in part cleanse the professional misconduct of the borough attorneys who surrendered their professional responsibility at the direction of the Democratic Council majority. There's more. Seven, a settlement would be further proof that this Democratic Council majority, despite agreeing to fight 800 Sylvan at the July 10, 2019 meeting, never intended to do so. Eight, a settlement would forever change the nature of Englewood Cliffs without a full and proper fight and appeal. Nine, a settlement would create unhealthy, high-density housing during an era of social distancing. This in itself would run counter to the governor's executive orders requiring social distancing. Now, I have demanded all communications regarding discussions that have been held. I, of course, will not get those. I will keep fighting for those. You will recall that I have demanded communications in the past, but have not received them because the Democratic Council majority told our attorneys not to provide them to me. And the attorneys rather listened to them than to protect their own law licenses. Incidentally, the extortive terms mentioned earlier of forcing to build a project, even though the developer was given the right to build by the judge, actually now appear in the proposed settlement terms. Okay, so think about all that. We are going to go into closed session, as I mentioned. We will be there for a while, and then we will open to the public so the public could voice their opinions on this or on any other matter as well. So with that, could I have a motion to go into closed session, please?
So moved.
Second?
Hello? Hello?
Who seconded?
I did.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, can you please read the proper language to go into closed session?
Good luck in closed session.
Resolution authorizing closed session. Resolution authorized closed session at meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. Whereas the mayor and council of the Borough of Englewood Cliffs have deemed it necessary to go into closed session to discuss certain confidential matters. Whereas the meetings of this closed session will remain confidential as permitted under the Open Public Meetings Act and shall be released when there is no further need for confidentiality as authorized by the borough attorney. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council of the Borough of Englewood Cliffs will go into closed session for the following matters as permitted under the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-12. Regarding Borough of Englewood Cliffs, docket number BERL 6119-15, 800 Sylvan versus Borough, docket BERL 69-18, and A 4019-17T2.
So we are going to go into closed session now. And again, we'll probably be there for at least half an hour.
I am going to put everyone back into the waiting room.
Okay, were you on mute when you said that? I don't know if you heard that, but everyone else other than the council, the clerk, and the attorneys will go into the waiting room.
Drinks are served.